Hey people, we've got the Asus A15 laptop here today. It's the Ryzen 5000 series based laptop. It's got the NVIDIA 3070 graphics. This is just an unbox and a quick play with it. And right into it, straight away you see the laptop and it's ready to take out. So in comparison to some laptop packaging, this would probably be what I call really basic packaging. First, some documentations. Not much extras, so warranty card on the inside. So you see a 200 watts charger, and I assume there's a plug somewhere else. Reminds you of the G15 lid design where there's a lot of holes on them. The laptop itself seems to have quite a rugged look. On the inside, it's going to be quite typical of the TUF series. It's just going to say this is fairly a budget laptop. I mean, it's a weird one. It's more affordable than any other 3060 that we can find in the UK. At the moment, just to say, if you try to buy this laptop, you might find really long delays because I think I'm not really sure what people are doing with it. It's mining, but it's really good gaming laptop. We hope that there's more of it. So on the inside, the really nice thing is up to 8 cores. So this is a Ryzen 5000 series, faster than the 4000 series, but in some ways it's probably more improvement. 144 Hz screen. On some models you probably can have a little bit more refresh rate. And on the lid you can see the sort of contour shape. It's not quite flat. It's this bit has raised edge. And it almost feels 3D printed. It's quite modern. You're not quite sure if it's hollow or if it's raised. So that's quite interesting, I found it. So if we we'll just try to switch it on. Ooh, fascinating. As you can see, RGB keyboard. It's not individually lit, but it's reasonably vibrant in color. I think the backlight is certainly, you can see through quite a bit of it, even if it's in the dark. So let's look on the inside. So webcam, there's no webcam cover, so it reminds you it's quite a basic gaming laptop. I think in the past we've seen the TUF laptops, the center of the screen tend to be scratched after maybe a year or so by the keyboard. Don't know if this is the case here. You can see some of the edge on the rubber bit that raises the bezel. I think that's it's going to be interesting if that helps. We're finally into Windows, so we can take a look at the spec of this one. So it's Ryzen 7 5000 series. This is a newer CPU, so it's 16 thread. It's actually quite powerful. It's excellent to see this in combination with the RTX 3700. So I think in terms of what you get for the same money compared to, let's say, 2-3 years ago, this is quite impressive. So far, I've not really heard the fan spinning up, but I've not connected to the internet either. So 16 gig, so do channel at the moment. So that means you can't really upgrade at the moment. You can take out both sticks, but at least it's in the ideal RAM configuration. SD, so 512, quite standard, and 8 gig memory on the graphic card side. There's also the AMD, I think, integrated graphics, which is interesting. Ooh, very nice. So 1080p screen, it should be confirmed as 144 Hz refresh rate. It's confirmed. So really powerful design. I mean, where does Asus cut the corners? I guess this is where you notice. You can, if you hear the sound, it's hollow, sort of plasticky, sort of over on the bezel. Okay, that's quite a solid part. Yeah, some hollowness. I think that's probably the weakest point in the chassis on the right hand side of the palm rest. So it's this part that's could do with a little bit more reinforcing underneath. With the lid on this TUF model, I think traditionally they could have made it more strong, but that's usually where they cut the corners in terms of the budget. On the base of this cover, it's not too distinguishable from the more budget end of the spectrum. Surprisingly, not as much air intake as I've thought, just a few cutouts really. So you get vent here, here, and there. So I guess intake here and exit here. Okay, so some intake here and either exit either one side. I haven't worked out which is which yet. That's interesting. Now let's look at the port. This is also an area where they tend to go a little bit on the light side on the 2F series. So you have two USB 3 ports, USB-C. I assume it's just a USB-C. HDMI, which is quite nice, Ethernet, audio jack, and USB, nothing else. So they're really going quite light on the ports. Just had a quick play with the speakers. It seems to work. There's a very little bass, but not too much. A little bit soundstage, not too much. I think this is another area where really, if you want a more premium build laptop like the MSI GS66 or something more premium, you'll really feel the difference from the speaker. I mean, the display, it looks like a fairly standard 144 Hz screen. So of all the things you see, it might not be the best, most appealing option for media consumption, but I suppose you can always link up an external screen, get bigger speakers. So those things aren't really an issue. It's just, you know, if you want a 3070 at this price, I haven't really seen anything else that gets anywhere near this just yet. Obviously, I hope to see more 3070, 3080 laptop. Next to the laptop with the Ryzen 5000 and the 3070, we've got the older model. So this is Ryzen 4000 and NVIDIA 1660, just to get a sense how it ages, if that makes sense. Very similar chassis. The only difference I can really see is that the fan grille seems to be painted black, whereas they used to be copper colored before. So it's a little bit more subtle on the new model now. As you can see, the lid design on the new one on this side is a little bit more subtle. So I guess you can go into a meeting after COVID has ended and people wouldn't really notice with this one. It sort of screams a gaming laptop. What I'll probably say is after years of use, I think on the older model the lid becomes a little bit loose, whereas on the new model is still quite a bit more firm. Yeah, it's a little bit more loose, and you can see some scratches on the edge, so that's quite normal. After some use, I think that's where the scratches are. This lid opening mechanism, I think, is part of the bezel. It feels less premium than a laptop should really be, but you know, it's when it's more budget, high-end gaming laptop, they do cut the corner somewhere. The lid doesn't always fully close, if that makes sense. It's always a little bit wobbly. The opening mechanism probably doesn't feel as expensive as you would expect, but I guess when you're going for the low-end side of the performance gaming side of the laptops, this is one of the design compromises I have to make. So the lid is still quite firm. You'll see that the trackpad, after some wear, after a year, it's on this model, it just wears, it becomes almost a little bit shiny. The key will get quite shiny as well. I think luckily there's no screen wears on this model, but just like the successor, I think the bezel, it gives you quite hollow sound. In the new one, the lid feels a little bit more secure. I think that's probably because it's new. I don't know if it did change anything. What I'll probably say is it's really useful that there are these buttons. I really like the buttons. It's just so much preferable to some of the older Asus where you couldn't click into it. The trackpad size seems to be decent, seems to be responsive. It's not the, you know, absolutely the best, but then if you're having a gaming laptop, you're probably using an external trackpad anyway. But yeah, I think the chassis is left surprisingly similar to before. So it's not a new chassis, it's just some internals, some refreshes. And you hear that when I open the lid, it makes a sort of clicking noise. I don't know if that's going to affect the new model as well, but I don't know if you use it more, if, you know, after a year's time, that will be a thing. But yeah, no, it's really good value for the performance. And then trying to get a 3070 with Ryzen, it's right under 1300, I think at this point is pretty good. Okay, what we'll probably say is so far it looks good. I think this is a more value-based performance laptop. If you want performance and you want value, then there's going to be some, you know, corners cut on the quality side. Sometimes in terms of the more premium chassis design, you don't see that, fewer ports. But, you know, just from the perspective of having those kind of really powerful components, you can't really beat this at the moment in terms of value for money. Just to say, if there's any questions, just in case we have another follow-up video, do ask underneath the comments area. We'll hopefully try to answer it. We'll see when they get in. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks.